What's going on, guys? Welcome back. And today I'm going to be discussing a movie that I've been wanting to discuss for a while, since it came out in May of 2019, and it's Tolkien. I'm really glad to be talking about this movie because I'm a huge Middle-earth fan, and, you know, Tolkien as a person has really inspired me, like the j.r.r. Tolkien as a person has really inspired me as to just with all of like the writing I've done, and he's just a really great writer, and so I'm very happy to be talking about this movie. I just saw it last week, and it's really good. I don't know why it got so badly received. It didn't make a lot of money, which I can understand. It's not like I think for everybody, but a lot of it definitely worked for me. When it started, it was kind of, I don't know if the child actors were really bad, but when it started off, it was kind of a little cliche and a little confusing with the way they edited together. Like, if you didn't know, it's about j.r.r. Tolkien, of course, growing up, and just about like his life story, basically, before he became the writer, or I guess the story about him becoming the writer that we all know him to be, who wrote, of course, The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit as stories. So just to see this brought to life is quite interesting. I know a lot of it didn't happen the way that it is in the movie, and a lot of people have brought that up. But a lot of the changes, I watched a video from a certain channel, and they explained, I forget the name of the channel, but from a channel that I guess does a lot of videos like that, and they kind of discussed what they changed, and a lot of the stuff they changed isn't really game changing. It's not really like offensive to me. Like, I know that I think there's some company like who's in charge of j.r.r. Tolkien's like memory and stuff, and they got really mad about that. It didn't really offend me at all because I hadn't really read up on him too much, j.r.r. Tolkien, so this was cool, and I definitely want to go to Wikipedia and like read up a lot more about him. But as you know, as a movie, it was pretty solid. Like, I really enjoyed a lot of performances by Nicholas Hoult and Lily Collins are the main two characters, him and his girlfriend, and they were really good. Like, the first scene that Nicholas Hoult was in, I was like, oh man, he's nailing this role. And you know, obviously, it's kind of hard to think about for like a director to helm something like this, where, you know, it's a time period that we don't really have much from, so it's kind of hard to nail what like a person would be like back then. And I think that Nicholas Hoult really nailed it, and I think the director did a pretty good job. It feels like there aren't enough, like, there's some really great locations, like when they're on the battlefield and in like the city. Like, that's the thing I loved about the movie Wonder Woman, was it really nailed the look of like World War I. And this movie's obviously based just around before World War I starts, I think. And because obviously that's where his life took place, and he went off to war. So a lot of things they have changed in this movie, and like I said, not a lot of them bother me. But yeah, when it started, the movie was starting off, and I was like, oh man, this might be bad. Like, the way they were editing together, like his imagination, where like he was imagining things through like his lens and perception, and you get to see, like, as a kid, his mom was showing him all these stories, and then that's how it inspired him to come up with, you know, Smaug and all these great creations that he eventually wrote about. And it's just, it's so cool. It's just really cool to see. You know, I got goosebumps. Like, the final ending shot is, or one of the final shots of the movie is him writing down, a long time ago, in a hole, there lived a hobbit. And I got goosebumps. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like, it was just really well helmed, I think. They once again, I don't think they showed enough of these grungy locations that really showcase how grungy it was. There's a lot of times when they go to like these very grandiose locations, and I understand that's kind of part of the story, is he's not like this big person in the world, and he gets to go to like he goes to this fancy restaurant, and he gets to go to like they sneak into this opera house, and you know, I guess that I get that that's part of the story, but just like it felt like there was way too much like color, and like it felt way too vibrant and happy for like this time period, and for like where this person or this character is in his life. I don't know, just something about that, like, some of the scenes like that kind of bothered me. And then sometimes it feels like they try to be a little artsy and a little, like, cool in the way they, like, did some things. Like, there's this one scene, you'll know if you see the movie, where he's kissing his girlfriend in, like, this hallway, and the camera keeps panning down the hallway, and it just keeps panning away, and it keeps going down this hallway, and there's all these corners, and it keeps twisting, and it's meant to be kind of cool, but it just feels like they're dragging it out, and I understand they wanted to make it seem cool, but it just felt like they were, like, dragging out the runtime, and it didn't have to be there. But other than that, like, a lot of the performances, like, he's put together this friend group, and this group, it's not the Inklings, that's the group that he put together in real life, which I was a little disappointed in. Like, when the trailer came out, I was really looking forward to seeing, like, something like C.S. Lewis. Like, I mean, I think C.S. Lewis appeared later in his life, but I was hoping to see C.S. Lewis portrayed in this movie. Of course, the writer of the Chronicles of Narnia, but he wasn't in here because they were obviously friends, if you didn't know. I think in their later years, not like when they were super old, because there's like kind of a little bit of a time jump at the end where it jumps to like 20 to 30 years later, and at that point he definitely would have met C.S. Lewis by then, I'm pretty sure, but I don't know. And, you know, just a lot of, like, the whole friend group, like, they had this running gag, which is kind of their little catchphrase for their little group. It was just really fun, and a lot of it's very enjoyable. I understand why it's not the movie for everyone, because I know that on this channel I usually talk about blockbusters and these really big things, and it's kind of sad that this movie didn't make much money, and I think it just shows the current movie industry where movies like Avengers Endgame, that are these huge blockbusters, are coming out, and no one really cares about these smaller movies that really are well crafted in quite a lot of ways and just very well constructed. Like, this is I think, a very well constructed movie in many ways. Like, it's a lot of the emotional beats hit for me. There's a weird pattern in the movie where Tolkien goes up to people and they're like, no, and then he's like, but wait, and then they kind of help him. Like, it's a really weird thing. Like, the first time is when he meets this old professor who really loves his stories, and, well, Tolkien is kind of doing things inspired by his books and stuff, so then he's kind of, like, going around being weird, and then Tolkien, his name is, Ronald, so I'm just gonna call him Ronald for the rest of the video. He goes up to the professor, and he's like, oh, I want to join your class, and then he's like, nope, and then he's like, but wait, I wrote these stories, and then he's like, okay, sure, and then at the end of the movie, there's, this woman who is the mother of one of his friends as a child, and part of their group, and he obviously dies in the World War, so he's talking to his mother, and it's actually quite emotional, very well done. But then, like, the mother is like, I don't know what good it would do. And he's like, it will do very good. And then she's like, I don't want to do it. And then he's like, but wait. And then she's like, okay, sure. It's kind of a weird pattern that the movie has. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's kind of a weird thing that they keep repeating. It happens at another point in the movie, but I forget where it was. But yeah, it's just a very well-told story in, I think, a lot of ways, and I'm sad that it fell by the wayside. Like, I recommend you guys go check it out. It's, for rent on the Cineplex store. I use the Cineplex store app. It's for, like, $5 or something there. Go check it out. It's a really good movie. And it's a very quiet, intimate movie, and it's not, like, a big blockbuster, crazy fest action movie. But it's still really, really good, and I don't really have a ton to say about it. Like, I'm just really glad to be making this video and talking about a movie related to Middle-earth and j.r.r. Tolkien's writings, because I haven't talked about, the channel's called Hobbricks, and I don't plan on changing the title, but I've just been talking about the MCU and all this other stuff, and it just feels really good to be talking about The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings again. Just something related to Middle-earth and, you know, the Tolkien story. I'm glad this movie exists. Like, when I didn't even, like, back in, I think it was, like, January or February, or maybe it was March, and I just saw this, like, on my recommended feed. I was like, wait, what? And then I watched it, and I found out there was a trailer, like, a few months ago, and I was like, I never heard about this. And that's the thing, like, I'm pretty sure that, like, half the people watching this video didn't even know this movie, like, happened, and didn't know it existed. And that's kind of sad, but I really do recommend you check it out. It's gonna fall by the wayside quite a lot. Not a lot of people are gonna be watching it, and I just really recommend it. Like, I really enjoyed it, and it really worked for me in a lot of ways. Like, there are some things that bug me about it, but it was just a really enjoyable experience, and I'm glad this movie exists. Like, I know that some people may be huge, hardcore into Tolkien lore and Tolkien's life are gonna be mad at it or offended by it, but to me, as just a huge fan of his work and his writing, it was just a really cool experience. And, you know, the ending with him finally writing the first line of the Hobbit book, it was kind of like at the end of Captain Marvel with Nick Fury. I'm sorry to tie this back into Marvel, but it was just like, I couldn't help but think about Captain Marvel with Nick Fury deleting the Protector Initiative and then typing in the Avenger Initiative. Like, it felt like the same thing. Like Tolkien finally writing the first line of the Hobbit book, and I got goosebumps. Like, it was awesome. But, you know, Tolkien, it's a really good movie, and I'm glad I finally saw it. I just really liked this movie. I thought it was very well edited. Like I say at the beginning, it was very odd, and I couldn't really tell what was happening. But after it got to the point where Nicholas Hoult was introduced, which I would say is like 25 to 30 minutes into the movie, it really picked up, and the story really kicked in. I got used to the editing style, and it was just really cool, and a really good experience from that point on. So I give this movie like a B+ or an A-, somewhere around there. I really liked it. I thought it was really solid, and it's just such a nice change of pace from all these blockbusters and crazy movies that we have nowadays, that it's a really good movie, and I really think you guys should go check it out, because not a lot of people are gonna be watching it and checking it out. So, you know, as always, I hope you guys have a great day. Take care. Bye.